Welcome to the New to Crypto podcast, designed to guide you through the crypto landscape with pinpoint accuracy, created for the new and intermediate crypto investor. Join your host, Crypto Travels Michael, as he takes you through the different facets of getting started and succeeding in your crypto journey. New to Crypto podcast brings you new episodes daily, Monday through Friday, with surprise bonus episodes sometimes on the weekend. Let me ask you, are you new to crypto? Don't know where to start? Are you more experienced but have questions? Then you're in the right place. This podcast is designed for you. Coming at you from the Trading Center in the Lifestyle Design Studio, here's your host, Crypto Travels Michael.
Brave Wallet is the first secure crypto wallet built natively in a Web3 crypto browser. No extension required. You can store, manage, and grow your portfolio, get NFTs and multi-chain support. Download the Brave privacy browser at brave.com/new-to-crypto and click on the wallet icon to get started. Today's interview is about a hot new project which incorporates gaming, prediction markets, and their own liquidity engine. I have Phillip and Ivan here to tell you all about Nezha, which could be a game changer in DeFi and gaming. Phillip and Ivan, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Michael. Delighted to be on.
Hey, absolutely, guys. Hey, before we dive in, can you give us just a little background on yourselves, on each of you?
Sure. Let me take that first. Serial entrepreneur across a variety of spaces. I've been focusing mainly on sports and the traditional side of prediction markets lately, mainly, on the US, Canadian side. I've been a crypto investor for the past 2 years, learning about a variety of ecosystems, mainly focused on Solana and Cardano.
So I've spent 20 years in technology, built the trading platforms for IG, and ran a team of engineers that grew to 250 in a global leading trading business. And then I ran a competitor called Capital.com and founded a cryptocurrency exchange called Currency.com. And I've been investing quite heavily in DeFi projects over the last year, playing advisory roles. And when Phillip and I came up with this idea, we decided to dive in and start something together.
Wow, guys. Talk about a phenomenal experience, both of you. By the way, I've used both Currency and Capital. I've accounts on there as well. But guys, before we dive into all the details of your project, can you give us just a little overview about Nezha and what it is for our listeners?
Sure. Nezha is what we refer to as the next generation prediction markets, as we work on turning a market that's traditionally a zero-sum environment into a positive-sum environment. And so what do we actually mean with that? When you look at the traditional set of prediction markets, it tends to be games in which one of the parties has to lose for the other to win. Make a prediction, and for one party to win, the other has to lose, and vice versa. And this is a market environment in which there's a lot of fun, but it creates a lot of inherent challenges that we're trying to address with this protocol. So the way that Nezha operates is that all of the participants of a market, they provide liquidity together into one central staking pool. And to be able to participate in the games, you have to be part of that pool. But if you're part of that pool, you can make a prediction on any of the given games that we'll be launching. And the pool as such will aggregate liquidity across DeFi to generate a return, but it's only this return that is being distributed according to the prediction market outcome games. So what we're able to do is any participants forfeits their staking rewards in order to be able to participate. And then all of the staking rewards from the entire community together can be distributed to very few winners, thereby creating these dynamics of really outsized gains in very short amounts of time in a gamified way, and without anybody really having to lose, because the liquidity that you provide remains locked in the staking contract at all times.
Wow. A lot going on with Nezha. And for our listeners, we're actually going to break down and unpack things in a more detailed way. And that brings me to my next question for you both is, what is a liquidity engine and what solutions does Nezha provide?
So liquidity engine means that we are collecting liquidity from our community and we're optimizing where that liquidity goes into the market to generate a return. So liquidity is simply the amount of crypto staked within our protocol. Nezha will support USDC as a launch currency, which is a stable coin. And we will make sure that this stablecoin is allocated across the DeFi space in a way that optimizes risk and return. And so the liquidity engine in this case is a kind of a business to business component in which we use the liquidity that our community gives us and invest that on their behalf in order to create an optimal return for the games on the platform.
Okay. And let me ask you, what are prediction markets? Because I was going over your project, and can you share with our listeners, like, what is a prediction market? Maybe in a like simplified way for them.
Yeah. On a very basic level, a prediction market is an environment in which you're trying to predict anything. So there's a variety of traditional prediction markets. They can be event-based, they can be random-based. So there's a whole ecosystem around it in terms of you making a prediction. But essentially, you're going out there and you're saying, I think this will occur. And then based on one event, we'll see whether this does occur. So this could be a variety of things. Traditionally, it's been known as number combination or sporting events or how the weather will be. In the sort of wave of prediction markets 1.0 that we've seen on the blockchain, which was a couple of years ago, a lot of it revolved around where will the price of Bitcoin be in 1 hour, 2 hours. And this was sort of the very first stage of prediction markets, where it was just about, do I think something will go up or do I think something will go down? And now Nezha and the games that it introduces is a variation on this with a very different functionality. But I'm sure we'll touch on that.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, who are the targeted users for Nezha? Like, you guys designed a phenomenal project, and who is it like specifically designed to target, to help?
So I think when you talk about prediction markets and gaming and entertainment, I think a lot of people that we've spoken to shy away from some elements of the traditional prediction markets where, they know the realities of going against the house or wagering something might happen where you're actually staking money that if you don't win, you lose, right? And so there's a whole audience of people there that's probably a little bit nervous about what might happen if they get too caught up in the entertainment side of it, and they prefer to keep their cash kind of in much safer areas of investment and not gamble with their money. And the prediction market protocol that we're building is much more aligned with the DeFi staking audience. So people, when you're staking for rewards and returns, your capital is being deployed. And, one of the areas we can come on to when we look at the technology is how is that capital being secured and with the smart contracts managing that and the audit process around that. But, assuming that where you're staking your capital is a safe smart contract for it to be staked in, you will be entitled to receive that money back at some point in the future. And the way that we're designing this game is so that you stake money in the protocol for a period of time in order to be eligible to participate. But at any time you can unstake and then, no longer participate going forward. So we feel like this will appeal to the audience of people who are already staking for a return. We feel like there's an element of their assets that they would like to have some exposure to a potentially very large return in a short space of time without risking the capital of their asset.
Okay, excellent. And I actually wanted to go over one of the major benefits is you're going to launch a revolutionary game. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. So the first game that we'll be launching is called the Nezha Draw. It's called the Nezha Draw because at its core functionality, out of a set of numbers, we'll be drawing 6 numbers each week. And so the prediction in this case is that every participant in the prediction market will try to predict ahead of the time what will the sequence of 6 numbers be in any given week. And there's a mathematical probability to this happening. And so where it can be controlled, how many participants in the game, who's got what chance of winning it. And so what this allows us to do is create a fully transparent and fair market environment in which however much you invest, you can have a chance at this grand prize. And depending on how much liquidity you put in, you might have a slightly larger chance or slightly less chance. But we've really introduced a lot of these game dynamics to make sure that it's as fair as possible. And even if somebody introduces a very large amount of money into the protocol, that you have a as fair as possible chance of winning the overall thing. And so what happens in this case and how the game is structured is the Nezha Draw is structured in epochs. Each epoch is a week long. So that means that 1 week ahead of the actual draw occurring, so the 6 numbers being drawn, the staking closes, and you will have to have your staking in the smart contract to be able to participate in the game. During the week-long process of the Nezha draw, we'll be working our magic, generating yield across DeFi and making sure that there's a stable but safe return. And then thereafter, the yield that has been generated over this entire week will flow back into one central price pot. And if there is a winner, so somebody predicted 6 out of 6 numbers correctly, they win this grand prize. And then there's also a secondary and a third price tier, so that if somebody's got 5 out of 6 numbers correct or 4 out of 6 numbers correct, they will win the secondary or tertiary prize that is slightly smaller than sort of the grand prize. And that's the core functioning of how this works.
Awesome. Where did the idea come from to create the draw game? I think it's an awesome idea and concept.
Yeah, so we've spoken to a lot of people and we've been trying to establish, where do people get the entertainment and excitement from with the traditional side of prediction markets? And the feedback that we were getting from the community was they like the anticipation of guessing something and then seeing, does it pay off, does it not? And so this is also really something that we're trying to involve into the actual game, where as the numbers unveiled, we're not just publishing the 6 numbers, here they are. There's kind of like a little bit of a process, a little bit of an event to it, where the numbers are revealed one by one, kind of match the numbers that you have on your card against the numbers that are happening. And so we're trying to create this event around this. But yeah, it's really important for us that we build all of these games with community focus. And so that's what we've been doing from day one, trying to talk to people, understand what they find entertaining, and then from there, build something around that hopefully matches the community's expectations.
Awesome. And I see you're launching on Solana. What's the benefit in launching on Solana? Can you take us a little deeper about that?
So Solana has really emerged as a major contender, and who's going to win the race here, right? And I think I'm not particularly religious on one chain over another. I think there's space for innovation here, and there's maybe 10 big layer ones now that are emerging over the coming couple of years. But I think people are very aware of the ETH gas fees. People have seen the scalability and performance of Solana. I think Solana has really captured a lot of the gaming community. And we've had a really strong reception from people that we've spoken to within the Solana ecosystem, be that yield generation platforms, launch pads, people that are participating with providing liquidity and DeFi protocols. So I think, different layer one blockchains have developed very strong allegiances and alliances in certain areas, and Solana just felt like a very natural fit.
Brave Wallet is the first secure crypto wallet built natively in a Web3 crypto browser. What's Web3? Web3 is freedom from big tech and Wall Street. More control and better privacy. But there's a weak point in Web3, your crypto wallet. Most wallets are browser extensions, a Web2 technology. That means the same old risks: app spoofing, phishing scams, and theft. Brave Wallet is different. Brave Wallet is the first secure wallet built natively in a Web3 crypto browser. No extension required. With Brave Wallet, you can buy, store, send, and swap assets, manage NFTs, even connect other wallets and dApps, all from the security of the best privacy browser on the market. Whether you're new to crypto or a seasoned pro, it's time to ditch those risky extensions. It's time to switch to Brave Wallet. Download Brave at brave.com/new to crypto and click on the wallet icon to get started.
Definitely understand. Awesome choice. Let's talk about your token for a moment, and let's go into the utility of your token. What is the name of your token, first of all?
The name of the token is Nez. So kind of the whole platform is Nezha, and then the short form, just the NEZ, is the token.
Okay. And can you unpack and break down like the utility of your token?
Of course. So there's 2 main components to it. We have a more consumer B2C focused part of it, and then a more business to business B2B focused side of the token and the token utility. On the consumer side of things, it's important that people that are supporting us and the ecosystem that is Nezha receive a whole lot of benefits within the games and the platform as such. And so by staking NEZ, we will be awarding different tiers depending on the amount of NEZ staked. And depending on which tier you're in, we'll have varying degrees of benefits in all of these games, varying degrees of access rights, And then also, as we launch more and more games, you will have early access or access to special games and all of that. So we'll pay key and close attention to these supporting members and building out the ecosystem and making sure that we give back as much as we can. There's also an element there in which part of the revenues that the protocol generates will be dedicated to buying back the token and burning it. So we've got a provision in place in the organization that states that as soon as the protocol is self-sufficient, revenues will be used to buy back the tokens on the available markets and destroy them forever to reward those that were holding it and to help create a positive price development and pressure. And then there's the B2B side of it. So we're paying a lot of attention and detailed attention here to building out a very entertaining and exciting product. Working on this for a while now. We've got a really kick-ass team working with it. And so we're very confident that at some point there will be alternative people that say, hey, this is a fantastic game. I want to do something like it. And so instead of creating a market environment where people have to compete with us and are trying to create something like we do and takes a lot of time, takes a lot of planning, we wanted to create an efficient situation in which anybody could white label the protocol as such and could open up a game like the ones that we're creating. And the only thing that we ask is that that user has to stake NES, predefined amount of NES, to be able to access and white label these and sort of give access on their own platform to the technology that we've been creating. So that's the sort of two core angles of utility behind NES.
Okay. And let's talk about the DeFi component for a moment where staking, is obviously made available. Is there more that you can share with our audience about the staking component?
Yes. So we're working with a bunch of partners in the DeFi space. We're currently in the final stages of unveiling our launch partner there that we're going with. So stay tuned on our communication channels for who that might be. Can't comment, unfortunately, just yet. But the important part is that we'll be working with different DeFi protocols built on Solana and making sure that we supply liquidity to create a return that is good, but never too risky. So we've got a bunch of provisions in place on our side to make sure that any of the partners that we're working with have been fully audited or safe. The liquidity that we're providing is not a significantly large part of the pool that we're staking into and all of those things to create a stable but good return that we can spread across the audience. And so as the protocol grows, we will be integrating with more and more partners across Solana. And you can think of this almost as being a gamified yield aggregator across Solana, where we're taking the best parts from the different protocols, making sure they have the liquidity to function, but then we're not just generating the return and giving it back to the audience, but we're adding a gamification element of that where you can have fun with it without any downside.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you guys, under your protocol mechanisms, you mentioned prediction pools. Is there anything else that you want to share that a little more deeper about prediction pools with our listeners?
Yeah. So with the prediction pools, one of the things that we're keen on, and this kind of goes more, it's in between the B2B and the B2C. We've been really encouraged by people coming back to us and a lot of the early supporters giving us suggestions for what type of game we should be developing, or, hey, this is something that I'd love to see in this type of platform. So we've heard everything from sports to pinball to whatever. And it's been really heartening to see. And so one of the things that we'll be building out is the opportunity for independent developers to integrate with this and actually create their own markets to integrate with the infrastructure that we're building below that. And so these prediction pools, as we call them, it's the idea that, you can set up your own pool if you have a great idea for a game, and you'll be able to integrate with what we've built to connect that game to the infrastructure on top of it. But we want to be realistic. That's a medium to long-term play. I think we're a good few quarters out from that because right now we're laser focused on building out the first game, making sure it's safe and functioning, and then we can devote proper attention to also unlocking this set of features.
Okay, and I see that Nezha is developing a list of mechanisms. Can you break down your ecosystem and what that looks like?
Yeah, so we essentially have a variety of mechanisms within the overall ecosystem. It starts very simply. We've got a community member that stakes a stable coin into our staking contract, and this liquidity is funneled onwards across DeFi and Solana to generate a return. Now, this return is obviously being returned at the end of the epoch, and from there, it goes to different pools within the ecosystem. And this is kind of segmented into a roadmap where we start small and initially there's very few pools. And then at some point, once the liquidity is there and the total value locked is a bit higher, we will expand on this somewhat. So initially it's very, very straightforward. There is a pool to reward those that have participated with these prizes. So the money goes back into the smart contract, and the smart contract understands, has there been a winner? Was there a second prize, a third tier prize? And then we're working with an insurance provider to insure against this. And there's some clever mechanisms involved in that to making sure it all stays stable. And so that's being handled initially. As the protocol grows a bit, there's a few pools that we're entering there. We mentioned previously the buyback and burn pool, where as the protocol is able to sustain itself, we will be buying back currency and burning it. There is also a foundation pool. So the foundation pool is something where, the reason that we're creating this protocol essentially is because we think that blockchain technology can invent a really old space for the better. And it can do some fascinating things just by the power of technology. And so we'd like to open up a foundation pool at some point to support others that are striving for similar goals. And then obviously there's an operational fund pool because, developers need to be paid. We want to reward those that contribute to the protocol. There's server fees, marketing fees, all of that, which we've raised capital now from our fantastic investors to cover for this initial part of the protocol. But at some point, this needs to become self-sufficient. And then the last pool on there in that ecosystem is the affiliate flywheel pool, which is something that we intend to introduce at a later stage as part of the growth of this protocol, in which we would like to reward people that refer their friends and other users and that talk about the protocol. And we'd like to fully automate this in a way that part of the generated yield goes into that affiliate pool, and anybody that refers and brings a new user receives an automatic share of that pool. And depending on how many they bring, their share will increase. So that is the rough functioning of the protocol, but everything in stages.
Fantastic. Yeah, I want to get into your stages right now. Let's talk about your 2022 roadmap. I know you guys are doing things in stages and in phases. Can you share a little bit with the audience about what that looks like this year?
Yeah, right now we're laser focused on two things. We're shortly ahead of our IDO. Our IDO will occur in about 2 weeks on the proper finance platform on Solana. So that's very exciting, and we're really focused on making sure all of that is taken care of, communicating with our community the right way, answering all the questions, and that the technical infrastructure around that is sound and ready to go. And then afterwards, we're continuing to build out the product, and let's hope that we can introduce the product as soon as possible. Initially, we were forecasting in the sort of, very shortly after the IDO, but as any technical project founder knows, there is unfortunate delays at some point. And so did we expect those, and so did we experience those. And so delays, there have been some small delays, but we're working hard to make sure that we can introduce the platform on Solana as soon as possible. So that's initially what we're laser focused on, getting the platform live, getting it audited. And then for our roadmap in 2022, it's important that we breathe out and we make sure that we integrate as many DeFi protocols on Solana as possible. And then slowly but surely, we're working off and introducing more and more of these pools. So starting with pools like the buyback and burn pool, affiliate pool, all of that, ahead of us really investing into whole governance structure, which is a separate topic. So don't want to skip ahead here.
Awesome. What else would you like to share with our audience about what you guys have going?
So a whole bunch of things, I think. We'd like to draw some attention to fantastic partners that we're working with. So, the ideal platform that we've briefly mentioned, Proper Finance. This is also a very exciting process for them. They've been a DeFi protocol that's been around for some time now on Solana, but they've just recently made the move to expand to becoming a launchpad. And so we'll be the second ever protocol to launch on there right after the Zivec protocol, which is exciting. And so we'd definitely like to draw some attention to what they're up to, and it's really worth checking out. And then also our first partner. I can't announce the first partner yet on the DeFi side of things, so let's ignore that one. I wish I could, but hey, we can't.
The other thing I think we could draw attention to, Michael, is, I've had 20 years in building technology products for people. And throughout building the trading platforms at IG, going back to 2003, 2002, we were building out the first streaming mobile apps where you're trading FX markets globally, sports books markets globally. And, really, I think we've assembled a fantastic team of people that really understand how to engage with users, how to run the focus groups, how to do the UX testing. And I think in blockchain, we've seen a lot of, the first generation of disruption coming in the core infrastructure and the plumbing. And really, there's some platforms that are now being built on top of that are really interesting and engaging. And I think that's an area that we're really focused on is to create an entertaining product. And we want to take Solana to a broader audience. There are so many people out there that are, throwing chips into a casino or, spending money on a lottery. And, we feel like there's a lot of people still that don't know about Solana, don't know about blockchain, see it all as quite difficult, quite complicated. So I think there's a lot of people that can take to a product that is entertaining, that is challenging the status quo, and really helping to grow the blockchain community and go beyond its current boundaries.
It's exciting what you guys have going over at Nezha and everything you're developing. Guys, I wanted to ask you, who are the early supporters of the project?
Yeah, we're very, very grateful that we have strong support behind us, and that has really helped us to get to the point that where we are and to get to the point beyond. Our initial investment prior to the IDO was led by some well-known funds, including AU21, Llama, OIG, Node Seeds, Stratosphere, and a whole bunch of other early investors that we've been very, very grateful to have on board. Specifically in the Solana system, we've had ZBS Capital and Koban, which are relatively niche and Solana-focused ventures funds that have been incredibly helpful in creating industry connections and broadening us into the space and learning with others around us.
Fantastic. You guys have had some really established supporters and backers of the project from early on. It's exciting time where you guys are going with this project, and I'm excited to see a grand slam this year with all things Nezha, In closing, guys, can you share with us about, I know you have a global team and a team around the world, but, can you share with our listeners a little bit about your team?
Yeah, sure. So we have, we've assembled a really innovative group of people that really believe in the project and bring together a range of different skills. We've got a very strong back-end team building out the smart contract layer with Rust developers. We then have a UX and front-end focused team that are doing all the prototypes and designs and now building those very actively to get our MVP live. And then we brought together a really strong community team, who are actively engaging with our community on Twitter and Telegram and Discord. We're just really engaging that Discord community and building up to the IDO, which is very exciting for us. We're getting beyond that initial concept and kind of product concept stage, and now it's really becoming very real, and the audience is getting engaged and growing very actively. So, Phillip and I are on very different time zones, with me based in London and Phillip in Vancouver right now. And we have developers in a number of countries across Europe, and our CTO is based in London here with me. So it's great. It's great.
Guys, I'm excited about your project and 2022 and beyond with everything that you're doing in the Solana ecosystem and your own project. And Ivan and Phil, it was a true pleasure and honor to have you here on the show today. And I welcome you guys back. Once you launch, we'll have to bring you back on the show and you can tell everyone and give everyone updates, guys.
Fantastic. Excited.
Thanks very much, Michael. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you. If you liked today's episode, definitely like and subscribe to the podcast, show your support, and chime in here tomorrow for another special episode. Until then, make it a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to New to Crypto Podcast. If you liked the episode, be sure to follow and subscribe. You can listen to every episode on all major platforms. Have an interest in being on the show or want advertising? Reach out at newtocrypto.io. Head over to our site, newtocrypto.io, to access the resources mentioned in each episode. Until next time, remember to navigate the crypto landscape with pinpoint accuracy.